Hi everyone, I'm Maggie and I'm one of the librarians here at the Sullivan Library at Dominican University, New York. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to create a poster. They're also known as research posters or academic posters. And we're going to start by using the DUNY poster presentation research guide, which you can find by going to this URL here. So it's going to be guides.dc.edu/poster presentation/home. And it should take you to this home page. Now I'm showing you this in April 2026. This might look different when you're taking a look at it. But here on the first tab, the Start Here page, we have first some upcoming poster presentation workshops. Um, and this is, if we ever do future workshops, we will post them here on our LibGuide. There will be text describing what's happening, and then there will also be a flyer below letting you know when to register, what dates the workshops are being offered. So let's get started. So what is a poster presentation? So they are basically common forms of sharing information in the academic community. So you might attend a professional or academic conference, and at these conferences, sometimes they have something called a poster presentation session. So, I think a lot of people, when they think about professional conferences, they think of presentations like PowerPoints and slideshows, and that is one way to get information across and share it with an audience. But another way you can do it is to do a poster. So typically you create a poster, and if you're one of the presenters, you stand with your poster and you present the research to conference participants. So it's going to sum up all of your original research in one big poster, in a visually appealing manner. And there might be things like graphs and charts, and text on your poster. Any text that is on your poster, you want to keep it kind of clear and concise, so not too long, and you want to make sure it gets to the point. Because, right, you're not doing a 45-minute presentation with a slideshow. You just have one big piece of paper or one poster, and you need to get your message across in this kind of restricted format. So if you are following along on the LibGuide, you'll see that there is a 20-minute video here called How to Create a Better Research Poster. What does it say? I want to say in less than 20 minutes. So we do recommend watching that. But since you're here at this workshop, I'm going to go through the rest of our guide. So one thing you might want to take a look at is this linked academic poster planning worksheet from the UNC library. So I'm going to switch to another tab that has the sheet. So here you'll see academic poster planning worksheet. We have kind of in order. Your first kind of step is to define the audience. So like, where are you presenting? Who are you speaking to? Are you going to be by yourself next to the poster, or are you just leaving your poster in a room and other people are going to take a look at the poster? And for your audience, like, are these people students, professionals, amateurs, very experienced? Like, how much do they know about the topic? Because this is going to help you kind of plan out your poster and how you're going to talk about your topic, right? The second step is to define the content of your poster. So you know a lot about your topic, but you're just not going to be able to get everything onto one, 36-inch by 48-inch poster. So you have to figure out what information you want to showcase, what is the most important information. And so on this worksheet, you can list all the different things, and then in these kind of circles, you can put numbers and rank what's the most important thing to what's the least important thing that you want your audience to know after they look at your poster. The third step would be to think out your visuals. So what visuals do you already have? So this might be maps or photos, figures, or tables. And what visuals can you create? So again, graphs, charts, graphics, and you can use different programs to create these graphics. So on the next sheet, we'll see step 4 is to kind of draw it out. You want to think about how your poster is going to look like, what kind of layout is going to work best for you. What do you want people to focus on in your poster? What's going to catch the eye from far away, and you also want to make sure it's readable up close as well, right? So this is showing like 4 different ways to divide a poster up. You might have it be just kind of one panel on the left, and then the other part of it is just one huge box. I think like some of the more traditional posters tend to follow this kind of trifold format where you have kind of 2 smaller panels on the left and right and 1 bigger panel in the middle. Some people, instead of doing kind of like the wide landscape photo style poster, they'll do a taller poster that's just divided in half like this. So there's like a couple different ways you can do it. I would say if you're like brand new and you're like, I just want one answer, probably stick with the classic trifold. So your final checklist for your poster is, in your poster, do you have like a limited color palette? So for this box, you say I've used 2 to 3 colors consistently. I've used color to draw attention to important items. You've used visuals with every section of your poster. You've used text sparingly to contextualize your visuals. Your text is readable both in color and size. Sources and images are all cited. You've aligned the elements to balance your poster, and you would want to read your poster. Like if you see it from across the room, you'd be like, wow, that's really cool. What is that? We have some blank worksheets, and so this worksheet is from UNC, and it is linked here on our poster LibGuide. In terms of like what a poster session might look like, here is a graphic of an undergraduate poster session at a college. So you can see we have different people kind of dressed in business or business casual clothing and standing in front of their posters. This one over here with the kind of black bar on top you see is that more traditional like trifold style. Down here is an example of what a poster might look like. So again, this is a more, it looks like it's like a social science, psychiatry style poster. We have the title up top here in the center quite big. Information about the person who made the poster, what university they're affiliated with, and then they broke it down by having background, objectives, and methods in the left panel. In the center panel, we have ethno-psychology of resilience, community-based organizations, and then on the right panel, we have case study number 1, case study number 2, conclusions, and then lastly, acknowledgments. So this is an example poster from Dr. Leanna Chase from Durham University. So this is kind of just background about like what a poster is. Now we're kind of going to go through step by step of how you're going to make a poster. So your first step is step 1 over here, which is to find or make a template. So kind of like the most common standard size that you'll find is posters that are 36 inches tall by 48 inches wide. And for Liberal Arts Day at DUNY, those are the size of the boards that are available. I would always recommend that you check with your professor or whoever is running the conference if there are specific sizes that they're looking for, because not everyone does the 36 by 48. But most of the time, that's going to be the size that you need. So if you are participating in Liberal Arts Day this year, in 2026, at DUNY, you're going to want your poster to be 36 inches tall by 48 inches wide. So we have a couple of different downloadable templates that are linked here. Kind of like the 2, I think, most useful ones would probably be the Colin Purrington one and the Jenny Graphics or Genie Graphics one. I really like the Genie Graphics. I think I have it up here in a tab. So yep, it's right over here. So we'll get that to that in a bit. Before we look at the Jenny Graphics version, I wanted to point out that there are some templates provided from some DUNY professors. So for example, if you're taking Dr. Connor's biology class, you probably want to use this template to start, maybe make some adjustments based on what you need. we have a link to Dooney branding. So you'll notice with a lot of these posters, if you're making a poster and you're a student, you usually want to include the kind of logo and graphics from your university or your college. So this is what the link for Dooney branding goes to. It goes to this file, sorry, to this web page that has the logo files. If you scroll down, you'll see a couple different options for you to use. And you just download it, and it gives you like a nice quality JPEG that will download straight to your computer. So you don't have to use PowerPoint, although for reasons I'll explain in a bit, that's probably the easiest way to do it. You don't have to. You can use other things like GIMP, OpenOffice, Google Slides, Adobe Illustrator, or some other Adobe products. But you know, if you're just like super brand new to this and want to keep it simple, I would recommend PowerPoint. What else? Oh yes, we talk about sizing your templates. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what the Genie Graphics site goes to. So if we click on this one, it will bring us to this website, and it says free PowerPoint research poster templates in various sizes and styles. So if you go scroll down, you can just go ahead and click the link that says 36 by 48, which is under the poster template standard design. There are a couple options down here though, like abstract sidebar design. Looks a little bit like this. Title left design, so the title and abstract and contact information are all on this left panel. Graphical design, visual abstract design, trifold, and there's more stuff below. To keep it simple for our purposes, we're just going to we're going to go to standard design, go to 36 by 48, and click this. So you'll see we downloaded it. I've already downloaded it. So if you go into your downloads folder and click it, it will open up in PowerPoint. So this is what it looks like. You're going to want to click this enable editing button up top. If you're already logged into your Dooney account like I am, you could already go ahead and do File, Save As, and then just save it. Make sure you save it to your OneDrive. So I'm just going to go ahead and save it to my OneDrive here, and I'll just call it Test Poster. And I don't know why it says J. And we'll hit Save. Okay, so I've gone ahead and saved my test poster. And the reason why I really like this is because it gives you all this extra information on the left and the right. Now, the stuff in this gray box and the stuff in this gray box are not going to show up when you print. Everything that's printable is kind of in this rectangular area in the center here. So this is a nice basic template that kind of does the classic trifold style. You would change this and you would write the title of your poster here. It even says replace this text with your title, right? So I could say how to create a research poster, and then I guess I'll get rid of this part as well. How to create a research poster. And then you would put your name here. So for me, I'd put Maggie, MLS, and then your university affiliation. So that's kind of small. Dominican University, New York, right? So already it's making your life a lot easier by having this template. You would put the Dooney logo, you'd delete this or replace it with the Dooney logo. Now this is just kind of like your generic, your standard like scientific research poster. So it has abstract, introduction, methods and materials, results, some room on the bottom for figures, photographs, tables, and charts. There's a discussion box on the right, and there's a conclusion box on the right. Contact information is down here. This is where you'd put your contact information, so your name, your Dooney email. If you want to put your phone number, you'd put it there. And references for any images or information that you cite in your poster would go here. So here's kind of like a nice boilerplate template you can use. And if you've saved it to your OneDrive, it should autosave. I'm going to minimize this and we'll look at something else. Okay, so you have your template, your 36 by 48 template, or a different size if you need it. Let's make sure it's the right size actually. So here we have a section that says sizing your template. Make sure that whichever template you choose matches the poster dimensions that you need. So this one is saying to go to the Design tab in PowerPoint, click Slide Size, and then Custom Slide Size. So let me go ahead and get back to my PowerPoint template. I just gotta move a couple boxes around. Okay, so let's see. So we're going to go to, what did it say? Design tab. Okay. So the Design tab is this fourth button from the left. Design. Slide size is on the right side over here. And then you're going to click Custom Slide Size. And I wanted something that was 48 inches wide and 36 inches tall. So that's perfect. It says slide size for custom, the width is 48 inches and the height is 36 inches. And you're going to say, okay. And if you need to change it, you could type in a different number for whatever size you need. I'm just typing in random numbers here. And then if you need to change it to the numbers you need and press OK. We're not going to change it because it was the correct size before. So I'm just going to click cancel. So again, design button in the top left, slide size over here on the right, custom slide size also on the right, and then 48 by 36 is perfect. So we're going to say OK. So once you've determined that your template is the correct size, we're going to move on to step number 2, selecting and organizing your content. So over here, the first tab we see is this ebook called The Little Guide to Giving Poster Presentations by John Bond, and this came out in 2023. So if you click this link, it will take you to this EBSCO link. You're going to go ahead and click this kind of like reddish pink box that says Access through your institution. And just give it a moment to go through. Okay, and if you're already logged in to your Dooney account, it should just pop right up. So this is the ebook. This is the cover page. If you click these arrows on the bottom right, you can navigate to the next page. And if you look at the table of contents on your right over here, it says, it breaks it down into different chapters. So, you know, maybe you don't want to read the whole thing, or you don't need to read the whole thing. If you're just like, I need help with specific parts, I recommend going to the, should be table of contents over here. So let's click contents. And you'll see here, we have part 1 that's broken down into 5 kind of subsections. So I would recommend looking through the table of contents, just kind of skim through and read what's in part 1, what's in part 2, what's in part 3, what's in part 4, and part 5. Whichever parts that you're struggling with, you could then go ahead and click that link and it'll go jump straight to that chapter. So let's say you already know your topic, you already know your target audience. Maybe you're having trouble figuring out your title and abstract, your kind of summary. So you could just click part 1, chapter 4, click here, and it'll go straight to this section, right? And it says you've defined your topic and have a thesis statement. Now let's grow that into the next important elements. So this is a really nice ebook. You should be able to access it using your Dooney account. So this is helpful if you get stuck on anything. I showed you the academic poster planning worksheet. If you just want a real simple breakdown of what is important in a poster, what makes a good poster, it should be that important information like the title, and the headings, those should be readable from about 10 feet away. You could say like 4 feet away even, but 4 to 10 feet away, people should be able to read what's on your poster. The title should be short and draw interest. Word count for the entire poster. This one is saying 300 to 800 words. There might be situations where you need more, but try to keep it as short as possible. The text should be clear and to the point. Bullet points, numbered bullet points, headlines make it easy to read. So you don't necessarily want huge paragraphs of text. You want to use graphics, colors, and fonts effectively. So this means making sure the contrast is high. Like you just don't want something that is like, for example, white on a white text on a yellow background, yellow text on a white background. Consistent and clean layout includes acknowledgments, your name, and institutional affiliation. So if you're a DUNY student, it should have your first name, your last name, and it should say Dominican University, New York on there. So let's go to step 3, design. So again, we have a link again to that like 20-minute video. But in terms of branding and fonts, what we recommend is that you have the logo on the top left or the top right. You really only need it once, but if you kind of like it to be symmetrical, you could put it in there twice. So if we look back at this template, you'll see there's a box on the left and there's a box on the right for you to put the DUNY logos. So as long as you have one logo on there, that should be okay. If you want to do 2, you can do 2. Formatting in PowerPoint. There are some YouTube tutorials on how to format your PowerPoint. There's also like the align button, which is really nice. I think everything in this template's already lined up pretty good. You can see all these 3 boxes are kind of aligned to match each other, and these 2 boxes are also aligned to match each other. But if you need help, you could always contact me or other people who work at the library, and we'd be happy to help you. So some example links, we have some more examples about how to make beautiful posters. This one is a social work poster from 2022. So again, we were talking about fonts earlier. The people in the room, the viewers, the audience, they should be able to read your poster from 4 to 10 feet away. If you think back to kind of the image we saw in the Start Here tab, you know, people are basically walking around the room and just kind of glancing around, seeing if they see anything interesting, right? So this person is with the yellow hat. They're clearly an audience member. They're clearly a viewer of the poster. And like, you know, she's not standing right up against it. She's a couple feet away, right? So she should be able to read what's on this poster in front of her. Going back to step 3, design. So what does this mean? So if we want readable fonts, beautiful fonts, this means using a sans serif font, which is easier to read. So Arial, Helvetica, Tahoma, some kind of font like that. Sans serif means that when you look at it, it's not like a Times New Roman font. There's no like little things dangling off the edge of the letters. It's just kind of nice and clean like this. So these are all sans serif fonts that I'm highlighting. Let me see if I can show you an example of sans serif versus serif. So sans serif font, serif font. Okay. I actually kind of like this. This kind of gives a good example. So with a serif font, you'll see they have these little kind of stylistic things on the bottoms and tops of letters, on the edges of letters. With the sans serif font, there are no extra strokes at the end of the letter form. We want to use sans serif because it's easier to read, it's more accessible. If someone has dyslexia, science shows that sans serif font is much easier for them to read than a serif font. They're just nice and clean looking. Usually we recommend sticking to one font. If for some reason you want to include more than one font, you could maybe do 2 or 3 max, but try not to go past 3 different fonts. Try to make sure you're consistent across headings and text. So the size guidelines we have are a 72-point font for titles, a 48-point font for a section heading, maybe a 30-point font if you have a heading or title for a picture. General text, 28-point font, and any smaller text for labels should be 20-point font. So you'll see you don't really want to go smaller than a 20-point font. I think in some circumstances it could be okay for you to go bigger than 72, but these are kind of just general guidelines. You'll see when you're putting your poster together, like you can probably kind of tell if it's too big or too small. But these are some nice numerical guidelines to follow. So again, I talked about color. You want to be really careful about this. It's nice to have a colorful poster, but you want it to be readable and you don't want it to look like too wild. So a white background is good. You could do a darker background, but maybe if you want to keep it simple, stick with a white background. Make sure you have enough space between columns and sections. So you'll see in this figure, in this picture, this box, it's not like directly next to this blue box, right? There is a little bit of a gap. Large blocks of color don't print well. So will probably want to break up blocks of color with text or images. You can use a colored outline for a box or header, so kind of the way this box has this red outline. Minimize the number of colors, avoid busy backgrounds. You could do dark text on a light background. I also think it's okay to do light text or white text on a dark background, but you just have to make sure that those are high contrast. So for example, this white font, you can't really read it on top of this blue because the blue is so light. So my kind of hack is like if I print out a little test copy, I'll print out a test copy of my poster in black and white. And if some part of it is really hard to read, that means that I have to either make something lighter or darker to make that font readable. So visuals. So you want to simplify your poster by replacing text with visualizations like graphs, charts, and photographs. So some things to keep in mind is the image necessary? Any pictures you put on there, they should serve a purpose. You're not just using it to just fill up space. You want to use your image to communicate something to your audience. Second point is your visual a table or a figure or illustration? So table, here's an example over here on the bottom left. This is table 1, items needed, right? So tables organize data and information into rows and columns. And then pretty much everything else that's a picture is either a figure or an illustration. So graphs, charts, drawings, photographs. So you'll see figure 1. This is like a Venn diagram with like an orange circle and a gray circle. And then figure number 2, we have a photograph of some textbooks. So these two things over here are figures, and this thing over here on the left is a table. You want to make sure you label all of your tables and figures in the order that they appear in your poster. So typically you're doing this from top to bottom and then left to right. Use the labels according to a documentation style like APA or MLA. So probably if you're doing APA, you're in one of the social sciences, so this might be psychology, if you're me, library science, so those folks use APA usually. MLA might be more for like an English major or humanities. Maybe you're using MLA. Okay, step number 4, finding images. So you do want to make sure that you follow and respect copyright. So the images that you find on the internet are not always free for you to use. A lot of times you need, well, sometimes you do need permission to reproduce someone else's image. And so it's also like when and where you find an image from a website can determine if you can reuse it with or without permission. So your first question you want to ask yourself is, does using this image constitute fair use? So this basically means that you can use copyrighted material for educational purposes without requesting permission, but you would want to check this fair use checklist to make sure that you are following the rules. So this is it links to Columbia University libraries, copyright information. I wonder if they moved the checklist. I'm not seeing it here. Okay. Let me see what resources and tools go to. Interesting. Okay. Let me go back. Okay. So fair use checklist. I'm going to make sure we fix this link before, well, hopefully soon. So first you need to figure out if your use of an image is fair use or not. If it's not, and then probably the easiest thing to do if you don't want to do the checklist or anything is to just make sure you find images that are considered public domain or they have a Creative Commons license. So these are very easy, kind of low stress ways to find pictures. So we have public domain, Creative Commons. Oh, that one doesn't work. And this one. So public domain just means that the copyright has expired, so the author doesn't own that intellectual property anymore, so you can use it. And then Creative Commons, it depends because there's different types of Creative Commons licenses, but some of them do let you reuse their graphics. Some of them request that you credit them or that you don't use it for monetary purposes and things like that. So where can you find these freely available images? So again, I like to stick with public domain or Creative Commons images. Here are a couple different links to different things that have images. So for example, we have Flickr is over here. Excuse me. Flickr is here. We have Wikimedia Commons and Flickr. Flickr's here twice. Interesting. So for example, you can do a search in Flickr for images that have no known copyright restrictions from the archives of cultural institutions, right? So if we go here, this is the first link. So Flickr, Explore Creative Commons. So here we have different images, and they do give you directions about, do they need you to put an attribution on it? Are you allowed to change their picture? That's what like no derivative works means. The artist or the author is letting you use the work, but they don't want you to change it. Non-commercial means you're not using the picture to make money, and so on and so forth. Again, if you're like getting a little overwhelmed with the Creative Commons stuff and the copyright stuff, please feel free to, reach out to me or the other people who work at the library, and we'd be happy to kind of explain it to you. So, you have a couple choices. You could use public domain images, you could use Creative Commons licenses. If you really need to use an image, you could always reach out to the author. But also you could just use your own images. So take your own photographs, make your own graphs, charts, diagrams. So, Canva is really nice for this. I've made like pie charts in Excel and used the pie chart that I made in Excel on an academic poster. So that's probably the easiest thing, is just make your own. You want to make sure that your image qualities are high quality. So try to make sure that images have 200 pixels per inch or greater. There's a video here that explains kind of how this works. So if you click that, it'll take you to a YouTube video. It's like 7 minutes long, and it's just about explaining image resolution and print sizes. So, usually if it's 200 pixels per inch or higher, that should be fine. I think a lot of times when you're finding images on the internet, they might be lower quality, like 72 pixels per inch, so just try to find stuff that's higher quality. That way when you print it out, it doesn't look blurry or pixelated. Okay, let's go to step number 5, citing your images. So like I said, there might be situations where you do have to Make sure you include the author of the image that you're using. So you do have to cite the source of your image, similar to how you have a reference or works cited page at the end of a paper, right? So you could use formats like MLA or APA. If there's no standard required, it's good to be consistent and just include information about the source. That way, if other people are like, oh, hey, where did Maggie get this image for her poster, they can find it again. So this link goes to some examples from Santa Fe College about how to cite images, but we do have two down here. So this is kind of example of how you would cite a visual using APA style and how you would cite a visual using MLA style. So you'll see this one, it has a picture, it says figure 1, coffee at Sullivan Library, from Get Your Free Cup of Coffee Before Supplies Run Out by John Doe, 2015, retrieved from the WordPress website. And this is a link from September 15, 2015. Copyright 2015 by John Doe, reprinted with permission. Let's see, did that work? It did not, because that link is 11 years old. But it is cited properly for APA in 2015. Probably we're going to want to update this in the future. Cool. So this is an example of citing a figure with APA. MLA is similar, not exactly the same. So this might be fig.1. Coffee at Sullivan Library. And then you'll see its last name, comma, first name. So it's Doe Joe. Get your free cup of coffee before supply runs out. Digital image, period, the Veritas blog, period, Sullivan Library, 15th of September 2015, .web, .13, April 2016. So you'll see this citation, this APA style citation up here, and this MLA citation on the bottom. They are similar, but they are not the same. So make sure you're citing your images properly. Lastly, we have a thing about the Creative Commons license. So if you do use an image with the Creative Commons license, you must give credit to the creator of the work. You have to include the image title, author, license, and link to the source. If there's no specified documentation style for your poster, you're going to use this format and insert the attribution below the image. So, for example, title by creator, license under, and then you're going to use whatever number Creative Commons license it is. So for example, this says UFV Student Research Day by University of the Fraser Valley, licensed under CC BY 2.0. So that's Creative Commons. Actually, let's click it. Let's see what this goes to. CC BY 2.0. Attribution 2.0 generic. Deed. So this is like an older license. There's actually a newer one now, but that's okay. So make sure you cite your visuals, cite your images correctly. And the last step, once you've kind of put all the components of your poster together, you're going to export it as a PDF so you could print it. So before you export it, so let's kind of look at PowerPoint again, right? Let's pretend this is a finished poster. Triple check everything is spelled properly, everything's aligned properly, there aren't too many colors. If you have figures or tables, the citations are done correctly. Once you're certain that your poster is done, you're going to export it as a PDF. So let's see what the steps are. So the size is correct, nothing looks too pixelated or blurry. So like, for example, if we open this back up, right now we're at 21% zoom. Let's do like 100. So you'll see we're zoomed in 100%. Everything looks nice and crisp, like this isn't too pixelated. If we scroll down to the images down here on the bottom, Figure 1 looks kind of nice. That's not too pixelated. Figure 2 looks good. This table with the numbers looks okay. So just take a look, make sure any pictures you put in here are not, pixelated. This chart looks really nice and crisp. I think that might have been it for pictures. Oh, yep, there was just this one chart, that one table, and then 2 pictures, and they all look nice. Okay, so exporting in PDF. These are kind of instructions to do it in Windows and on a Mac. I know a lot of people these days kind of just use the online PowerPoint option, but I'm just going to show you how to do it on a Windows computer. So we're going to do File. So in this top left corner, we're going to hit File, click Export, choose, I usually do this one that says Create PDF /XPS. I don't usually do the Adobe one because I think it locks. It says you can only do it once every 30 days, so I'd rather just use this one. So Create PDF /XPS. Click this button that says Create. And it's going to have a couple options down here. So you're going to call your poster, I don't know, you could do it your last name, your first initial, and poster, and then your title of your poster. So like Leung-M-poster about posters. It should be a PDF. You want to optimize it for standard, this publishing online and printing. Let me click options. I want to see if there's anything else we need to do. You should just have one slide for your research poster, so this should stay the same. Yeah, I don't think you have to go into the advanced options and change anything. This looks all right to me. So yeah, we'll keep it like this. Leung-M-poster about posters PDF. Click publish. It will automatically open up, and then this is what your poster is going to look like. So this is just like that example one. The only thing I really changed were the title, the author name, which is my name, and then the institution name, which is Dominican University, New York. So you have your poster. It should be the correct size. So it should be, I'm looking for 36 by 48. I'm going to just double check. Yep, there it says page size is 48 by 36 inches landscape. Great. So you have your PDF. So for Dooney, after you have checked your file, even looking at the exported PDF, I would just read that whole thing again one more time. I would read everything on here to make sure there are no typos, no mistakes. I'm happy with how everything looks. That's when you do your final step of emailing it to IT. So it says here, printing your poster. If you're presenting at Dominican, I gotta change that to university. If you're presenting at Dominican University, your professor will print your poster on your behalf via the IT office. Do not wait to email the file to them. Give them as much time as possible to print in case there are any technical difficulties. The IT office will only print one copy, so double check your work before sending a PDF version of the poster. If you're a student presenting at a conference and not at the college, you'll have to pay to have your poster printed out at like a professional printing business like Staples or something. Some of the template websites listed in step 1, which is this tab up here, can also print your poster for a fee. So make sure you quadruple check your PDF for any errors before you send it off to your professor or send it off to the IT office for printing, because you're basically printing it out on an enormous sheet of paper, and then the IT office just does not have the ability to print out multiple copies of the same project. And that's pretty much it. I have my big poster that I printed out a couple months ago with IT. I'm going to kind of show it off here. I don't know if it's visible over Teams. I think I'll have to turn my screen recording off. So let me do that. Let me stop sharing. Okay, and I'm going to show you what my poster looks like, my 48-inch by 36-inch poster. It's very big. So it looks like this. You'll see it's your classic trifold, and we have kind of the center panel, we have a left panel and a right panel that are smaller. But as you can see, this is one gigantic sheet of paper. And so once I sent it to IT and emailed it to them, I had to go to the IT office, pick it up, and then kind of tape it to this trifold poster board. So hopefully that this kind of 1-hour workshop kind of goes over all the basics of creating a academic poster, a research poster. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the library. Let me pull up the library's contact information. Give me one moment. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen. Whoops, one last time. And let me go back into Teams. Oh, it might be over. Let me see. Share screen. Let me do this one. And we'll do this. Okay. So I'm back on the library homepage. So you can get to the library homepage by going to DUNY, so duny.edu/Sullivan-library. So this is what our homepage looks like. If you need assistance or help with posters, you can click our About and then Contact Us. And you'll see down here, the library email is just sullivan.library@duny.edu. My email address is here, and we also have email addresses for the other staff who work here as well. I'm going to go back to the homepage, and I'm going to show you how to get to this LibGuide research guide about posters. So if you're on the DUNY homepage for the library, scroll down and click Research Guides on the right. If you type in the word poster here and click Enter or Search, you'll click this button that says Poster Presentations, and it will take you to the guide that we've been following for this 1-hour workshop. So I'm hoping this was helpful and informational. If you need to contact the library, again, that would just be sullivan.library@duny.edu, which is right here, sullivan.library@duny.edu. And then, again, I'm Maggie, the reference librarian here, and this is my email in the red and my office phone number. So thank you so much for watching this video, and we will see you soon. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.